Sonoma stuff at home.
Don't sleep on Salinas, by the way. Shout out Palma High School, D3 CCS division champs. So there you go. But don't sleep on East Salinas. Don't want to hang out there. Sausalito, though. Nice.
Somebody, Eric, YouTube, I don't think Bronte considers where our O-line rocks and where it's soft. Great at run block, bad at pass block. Pretty outperforming with less protection. Now, I understand our offensive line completely. Trust me. I know where our offensive line thrives, and it's not a powerful offensive line. But the zone blocking scheme with the agile alignment that they have, very good. McCaffrey is running through gaps after gap after gap. They run a lot over Trent Williams. Now, why wouldn't you? But pass protection against this team, that is problematic. That is problematic. Now, Chicago. Players talk trash, so it gives talk radio something to talk about. It's part of their media trading. Why do you think players need to talk to the media? That is so dumb. They think that players talk trash and give talk radio something to talk about. Let me tell you, players don't care about talk radio like that. That is asinine.
Unless you're Bryce Harper and you're listening.
That is an asinine thing to say.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Players talk trash because they like talking trash because it's part of the game.
That's what they do.
That's
what
part
we
of the
do
game.
growing up.
Yes.
They don't talk trash because of talk radio to give us content.
You've been talking trash with your friends your entire life. You're playing like freeze tag and you're talking trash. Like you're playing Xbox, you're playing Halo 2, you're talking trash.
Chicago Jason, take a lap, dude.
Come on.
You're all over the place. All right, download the free Odyssey app and listen to 95.7 The Game wherever you go. You can catch every Warriors game live on the app, along with all the music, news, the Bay Area needs. Catch amazing interviews you missed too. All right, Jason Dumas, Cron 4. And we know where he's from. But him alongside the coworker, the cats at Mitchell and S in Philadelphia, they may be the only guys I ever respected in Philadelphia. The only guys I tolerate from Philadelphia. Jason Dumas on the roast on 95.7 The Game. I can't believe you signed up to do this interview at 9:20, Jason. What's going on, my man?
B coming in hot, sounding like a 40 whiner.
Here we go. You know I can't wait to see Cry Eagles cry, but it's going to be tough to do that. It's going to be very tough to do that. This Eagles team, they just figure out a way to win, Jason. Your takeaway from yesterday, because, look, Jalen Hurts, two completions in the first half, and you just knew the longer they stay in the game, the more and more they're going to come out and steal it, and that's what they did yesterday in overtime.
Yeah, I think that win was more impressive than the Chiefs win, just by how they won the game. Obviously, the Chiefs are a better team than the Bills, but it was just about how the Eagles did it. Like, even when the Eagles were down by 10 against the Chiefs, I still didn't think they were playing all that bad. I just hey, they're playing a good team in the Chiefs. Maybe you lose this one. With the Bills, they were just playing awful. I was like, all right, they're not going to win this game. It's one of those trap games. I mean, they're in the midst of a brutal stretch anyway, and I didn't, and I still don't think they're going to go through the whole stretch undefeated because obviously they still have the Niners, Cowboys, and Seahawks on the road after this. So I thought at some point when I was looking from a broader perspective that they were going to lose one or two of those games during this stretch. So I was like, all right, the Bills game might be one of those where they lay an egg. There's no Lane Johnson. Their record is not good without Lane Johnson on the field. It's awful weather. Josh Allen is playing like an MVP. We've seen those glimpses from him in his career. It's just one of those days. They're not going to get it. So to be able to pull that rabbit out of the hat and grind out that win and make some big plays in the second half, you're right, Bronte. It just kind of showed you the type of fortitude that team has.
So, Jason, how much of the rest factor is going to play into this game? Obviously, the Niners had that extra rest playing on Thanksgiving Day. Then you got the Eagles, and they got obviously all the way to overtime in this one. How much of the rest factor are you going to attribute to this one heading into week 13 into Philly?
I think it's big. It's something that the Niners should take advantage of. I'm not a coach, so I don't know the schemes and all that, but you should look at a game plan where you take advantage of the fact that the Eagles were just beaten up on really bad, and you have 3 more days of rest. So utilize that in your game plan. They should look into it at least. And, the Eagles are a little more banged up than the Niners right now. I know the Niners just lost Odom and Huff, but, if Lane Johnson doesn't play, if Fletcher Cox doesn't play, those are 2 key guys for the Eagles who they do a lot of things around. So the Niners got to take advantage of all of that because if the Niners want a shot at home field advantage throughout, they have to win this game. I don't see an avenue for them to get the number 1 seed with a loss on Sunday.
I'm with you, Jason. Fletcher Cox, obviously a dominant piece in the middle. He's on his way to the Hall of Fame. Lane Johnson obviously didn't play yesterday, and yet that offensive line seemed to figure it out in the second half. That probably was the most impressive. And by the way, they remember to give DeAndre Swift the football. This is a run-first team. And obviously A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are great. Dallas Goedert should be back soon. I know he's going to try to give it a go on Sunday, but that running game is what worries me as a Niner fan. If there's anything to fear, it's that Eagles run game.
Yeah, and when they get away from the run, you just see it on Twitter. You see it everywhere. Fire Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, the Eagles offensive coordinator, it's taken him a bit to, adjust to this role. A lot of people were kind of scratching their heads that Eagles have a championship-ready team, and they brought in two coordinators without any experience. A lot of people were scratching their heads when that happened this offseason, and those same people, they have legitimate beef right now because coordinators on both sides of the ball, they're really learning on the job, and it's pretty obvious. Now, they've been able to get by on talent, but I do think this team was better last year. They were more impressive last year. They're eking out wins this year, and you don't get anything extra for style points. So I guess it's kind of all moot because they have the same record at this point. But it just seemed like they functioned a little better last season.
How big of a test is this for Brock Purdy on Sunday?
It's a huge. I wouldn't. I think Brock has done enough where he shouldn't be based off one game. I think he's a good quarterback. He's proved it over seasons now. And, if he loses this game, I won't think any less of Brock Purdy. It's just, hey, you lost the game on the road to a really good football team. That happens. If he wins, it's not like, oh, man, Brock Purdy, this is it. I don't think it's some sort of statement game because, look, let's be real. These two teams are probably going to play again in January.
Yep.
So if Brock Purdy wins in Philly on Sunday and then loses in Philly or against the Eagles in the playoffs, then what? So I don't want to make too much of this game in terms of coming to conclusions about certain players. I think Brock's a good quarterback. He'll probably show it on Sunday, and it'll probably be a really good game. Win or loss, my opinion won't change much of him.
You know what? You're so spot on. Spinoni and I have been kind of going back and forth about it. He's like, man, this is a legacy game. This is the biggest game. And I'm saying, you know what? I don't know if it's a bigger game than the divisional round game against the Cowboys last season. And as you just said, if they meet in January and Brock loses or the Niners lose, nobody's going to be talking about this game on Sunday. They're going to be talking about what happens in January. So, and look, I don't even want it to be all on Brock. It needs to. Christian McCaffrey needs to touch the ball 20 to 25 times, and Debo and Ayuk need to get going here in the pass game. Speaking of which, Debo had a lot to say. Hassan Reddick is chirping back and forth. What do you make of the trash talk going on between both teams?
Well, I love it, and it's funny to see Hassan Reddick say something because really it wasn't much trash talk from the Eagles side last year. I mean, because they win the game, but then they turned their attention to the Super Bowl, and most of the trash talk was during that Super Bowl media week. So Eagles, I guess they were more so rolling their eyes. What are you going to say? We have to play the Chiefs in a couple of days. We can't be going back and forth. I think if there's any sort of legacy game from anybody, I think it has to be Debo because Debo was the one leading the charge in the trash talk. So you're going to have to show up after all the chirping you did last year. I know Kyle Juszczyk said a little something. Christian McCaffrey said a little something. I understand it, too. They lost their quarterback. They feel like they didn't get a fair shake at the game. But in my opinion, losing Brock Purdy wasn't fluky. They did it because they couldn't protect him. They couldn't protect two quarterbacks. It wasn't like an offensive lineman or defensive lineman rolled up on his ankle in a pile and it was just bad luck. It was a skill thing. You guys couldn't block the Eagles' defensive line, and because of that, two quarterbacks got hurt. So, maybe look at your coach and why you were put in certain situations. Maybe look at your offensive line and say, you guys have to do better. It wasn't a fluky injury. He got hurt because he kept getting beat up on, and same thing with Josh Johnson. But I love the trash talk. It only makes it funner for us. And I do think that it's mostly the fans and us media folks who are really, really into this game because I think the players, both sides, realize that we are probably going to see this team again in January. So we could win this game and then lose next month. And then, like you said, Bonte, who the hell is going to be talking about this game if we win and then lose next month? So I do think players have that perspective. You'll get some trash talk, I'm sure, this week just because when you got mics and stuck in everybody's face, somebody's going to say something.
Did you hear from Hassan Reddick this morning on Sports Radio 94 WIP?
Yeah, I saw the quote. He just basically said they did a lot of hooting and hollering, so now it's time to line that sugar honey iced tea back up.
Hey, I'm going to play it for you right now, Jason. Here's Hassan Reddick on Sports Radio 94 WIP.
You know, as this season been going on, not much. Talk is cheap. You know, they get to come back in the link. There was a lot of boo-hoos last year, a lot of crying, a lot of what if, a lot of this, a lot of that. They get a chance to come back in here, line that up and prove it again.
He kind of sounds like you, Jason. Maybe is that your long-lost cousin?
Well, Hassan is from Camden, New Jersey, which is right over the bridge. It's like Oakland to San Francisco. Camden is right over a bridge. You're basically from Philly if you're from Camden. You know, you claim Camden, obviously. You're not going to say you're from Philly, but it's the same type of people. It's the same type of people. So Hassan is playing for his hometown team. He went to Temple right in North Philly. So that is about authentic as you can get.
Speaking of authentic, what do you make of Nick Sirianni doing his chirping after the Chiefs game? This guy, man, I got to tell you, Jason, I see a little bit of myself in Nick Sirianni. I think secretly all of us do. You know, he's that fan talking mad, you know what? He's a Philly guy. Like that is so endearing and such a perfect head coach for that fan base. Now that they're winning, of course, now if they start losing, it might look a little different. But what do you make of Nick Sirianni, him chattering it up with the fans on the sidelines after the games, all that sort of stuff? What do you make of this guy?
Well, I enjoy it. I mean, I think he's pandering a bit. You know, sometimes it seems like it's a little forced. So I do think he's pandering a bit. But, you know, you got to protect the check. You got to play. You got to do what plays well in the city that you work in, and he knows it. He's very aware of it. And, you know, it's all in good fun. I'm surprised he's been so successful, to be honest. When he had his introductory press conference a couple of years ago, I watched the press conference, and I said, oh, they're going to eat this dude alive. He didn't seem confident in what he was saying. He was stuttering a little bit. I was like, oh, man, this isn't going to be good. But he has proved me wrong. And it's funny you said he's endearing to you because a couple different times this weekend, people have told me how much they hate the guy. I was hosting with Larry on Friday, 2 to 6, and Larry was like, "Oh, I hate that guy." And about 3 callers after him were like, "Yeah, we hate Sirianni." I'm sitting watching the Michigan-Ohio State game and at Underdog Trace in the city. And the guy I'm talking to didn't even know I was an Eagles fan. He was like, but I hate that Nick Sirianni guy. I was like, oh, man. So a bunch of people hate the guy. I'm surprised to hear that you think he's a little endearing.
Well, Jason, he's an Italian. He's a Paisan. I'm a Paisan. Like, come on. He's got the blue eyes.
Spadoni's a Raider fan.
He's got the bags under his eyes.
Spadoni's a Raider fan. He don't know what he likes.
Oh, come on.
He doesn't know what's good, what's bad.
To the Raider fan thing.
He doesn't know. You know, they're a confused fan base, man.
This is starting to get personal. It
is. I love my Raider fans. Trust me, I know my Raider fans.
I love my Raider fans. As I degrade them the entire show.
I just know Spadoni.
Get out of here.
Spadoni. I can't stand Sirianni, the fake tears, and oh my gosh. But you know what? They turned it around in Philadelphia under him. There's no doubt he's a good coach. He knows what he's doing out there. Real quick before we get you out of here, Jason, the Warriors. I'm watching them from downtown Disney Friday, the second half. Downtown Disney. And I never felt like they were going to lose the game. But the way they failed to close them out, kind of like the Houston Rockets a couple Mondays ago, what is your take on the Warriors so far as they try to limp through this stretch here and they get Draymond Green back, obviously, tomorrow night against Sacramento?
Yeah, you would have really wanted to see them close out the Spurs more efficiently, maybe see a couple guys get going in that game, a nice opponent to get going against. And you didn't see it, so even though they won, it left a lot to be desired. We know Steph Curry's going to be Steph Curry. Draymond Green's going to come back, and I'm just going to assume he's going to be pretty good. He was pretty good before the suspension, too. To me, it's Klay and Wiggins. They're going to go as far as those two take them because this is the NBA. You can't win a championship alone. Steph is going to be great, but that's not good enough anymore. You need an efficient Wiggins. You need Klay to be scoring and just not be a open turnstile on defense.
Right.
And I don't know if that's too much to ask anymore, honestly. It just using my eyes and it's seeing Klay look slow. He just looks slow. And these contenders that you're playing against on the top of the West, they're young, athletic teams. And then there's Denver. And it's just, I don't know if you can get enough out of Klay and Wiggins to win a championship as is. And that's one of those things that's tough to say because I know the affection that this fan base has for Klay Thompson, but B, you guys know as much as anyone, Father Time is undefeated, and
no doubt.
Klay's had a lot of trauma on those legs with those injuries, and it's looking like with Klay in his role, the role that he has with the Warriors, just not going to be good enough. It's going to have to be a hard conversation to maybe take a lesser role and bring someone else in or move on. And I know it's hard to hear, but that's just my take on the team right now. Klay and Wiggins aren't doing enough, and I just don't know if they have enough. Yeah,
Klay's shooting is starting to come around, it feels like. He's always been a notorious slow starter, but you can see the legs, the defender that he was before the injuries. He's not that guy anymore, and I just think he needs better. You know, he's had to put like if you put him on the Lakers, for example, Jason, and he's playing with a LeBron James, he's got a guy who's driving to kick it all day. That suits Klay Thompson very well, you know, as a stationary shooter. But if you get him around Chris Paul or Sarge and the spacing is a lot better, I think he could thrive. But I do worry about him in a lineup with Draymond Green and Kevon Looney because of the lack of spacing that he'll get. And guys just don't respect him off the dribble. He's never been a great dribbler in the first place. So, there's going to be some hard conversations here. May have some hard decisions for Mike Dunleavy coming up in December and January. We'll see where this goes. But you're going to be in Sacramento tomorrow, right?
Yep, I'll be there, and that should be fun. You know, you know they're going to be on Draymond, and you know Draymond revels in those situations. So it'll be interesting, and it's a huge game for this in-season play.
Huge.
Are you in on this? Are you in on the IST?
Hey, Bonte, anything that'll get me a free trip to Vegas, I'm in on.
Look at this guy.
I am in on, bro. All right. Get me to Vegas.
I'm trying to get NBC the package if we go there, man. Give me to Vegas. I got some tickets and cash at Circa. I need to get out there and get to the slots or something. Will you be in Philadelphia on Sunday before we let you go?
I will not. Weekends now I'm doing with the Santa Cruz Warriors.
That's right.
I'm doing their sideline. So
congratulations
Santa Cruz
on that.
Next weekend. Thank you. Santa Cruz next weekend,
Boardwalk,
Friday and Saturday night. So I'll be in the Cruz Friday, Saturday night. I'll be back in the city on Sunday, posted on the couch to watch a really good football game.
Damn, I got to get down to Santa Cruz. I'll get down there one day. We got to see Dumas in action on the
Giant
sidelines,
Dipper,
man.
classic.
Dumas, man. Philadelphia making his way to the Bay Area. Dumas, always good to us, man. Always thanks for the time. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, fellas. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Jason Dumas, Cron 4, doing a hell of a job over there as our sports director. Just got the gig with the Santa Cruz Warriors on the sidelines. He's doing a great job there. Jason Dumas, a big-time player in the media game.